Hello, my name is Audrey. Today I'm going to be doing a video on how much I spent or what I spent in Seoul, Korea. So I was in Korea for 5 days and 4 nights, and to be honest with you, I didn't really have a budget in mind. I was just basically going with the flow just because I didn't really want to think about it too much in my head. So I just wanted to enjoy and experience my trip to Korea, which was actually my first solo trip. The point of this video is just to give you an overview of how much I spent personally when I went to Korea, and I've actually organized this into 6 categories, which is by accommodation, in-city transportation, food, activities/experiences, souvenirs, and my personal wants. So of course, prior to my arrival to Korea, I did book a hotel, and I believe I stayed at a 3-star hotel, which was located in Myeongdong, which is actually not far from the train station. So, and I believe the cost per night of that was only $60 per night, and my total cost for my stay, it was 238,678 won, which I think is actually not bad considering hotels nowadays are about $100 and over per night. In terms of in-city transportation, in regards to my express ticket from the airport to the city, it costed me 7,452, which I actually had purchased it in advance on the Klook website. So I did this for 2 ways, so going back and forth, so that is another 7,452 going back to the airport. In addition, I had also had a T-Money card, which I was able to use on the public transit. So I had only personally loaded 30,000 won. I had used this for the 5 days, which was actually surprisingly not as bad as I thought it was going to be. So for my total cost for in-city transportation, costed me 44,904. Now moving on to food, this one I did obviously had to spend a couple more just because since I didn't have access to a kitchen, I couldn't really go to the grocery store and cook my own food, so I had to do that. So of course, since my hotel was located in Myeongdong, I was able to actually try the street foods. So I had tried the japchae, which I was very excited for, and a bowl costed me only 5,000. And then after that, I had tried a croissant taiyaki, which was also 5,000. And then that same day, my first night, I actually dined at a restaurant because I just wanted to taste this restaurant that my family had suggested me, which was called Pureda. So I ordered a portion of chicken and some cheese balls, I believe, and that had costed me 24,800. And to be honest, that actually did not have tip included because tipping was not an option, because once I gave my card, it was just a straight payment to whatever the total was, so I thought that was pretty surprising. And then later that night, I wanted to just stock up on some snacks and just water, so I had went to 7-Eleven, which was also nearby, and that had costed me 4,100. The following day, I didn't have breakfast at a restaurant or anything like that, just because I did have some leftover food from dinner, so I just had that, so that was free of cost, of course. But for lunch, I did want to try something else, so I ended up dining at a restaurant again. I don't have the restaurant name, I just came across it. I just basically ordered a pork cutlet with cheese, and it was such a large portion of meat and a bowl of rice, and that had costed me 12,500, which is actually very affordable considering nowadays for like a meal like this, I'm pretty sure it's around $18 Canadian. So that was basically all I had for lunch. For dinner, I ended up just eating, again, my leftover food because the portion of the chicken was a lot. So with that, I ended up going to 7-Eleven again and purchasing those microwavable rice alongside to have my chicken. So that had costed me 5,700. Now, the following day, I spent a whole day in Lotte World / the Lotte Mall. So when I was in the Lotte World theme park, I just purchased some popcorn chicken with a drink, and that costed only 5,000. And for a snack, I had just popcorn, which costed me 4,700. After the Lotte World, I ended up going to the mall just because the Lotte World Aquarium was located there, and I came across Krispy Kreme, so I wanted to just have a quick snack. So I ended up purchasing 2 donuts and 1 bottled water, and that costed me 5,100. In terms for dinner, I actually also ended up passing by a Shake Shack, so I just got a bacon cheeseburger combo with a side of cheese fries. That costed me 16,500. I wanted to treat myself a little bit just because I didn't really eat like a real meal throughout the whole day, so I ended up going with Shake Shack for the night. The following day, I actually ate a lot more. I actually had breakfast at McDonald's. I just ordered a Egg McMuffin, of course, with a side of hash brown and bottled water. That costed me 5,000. And then for lunch, which was my fourth day, which I'm currently talking about, I had a KFC, which was a 2-piece chicken with fries, a drink, and gravy, and that costed me only 12,500. For dinner, I ended up going to a restaurant again just because I wanted to have this, I believe it's called dekgalbi. So it's a spicy stir-fried chicken. It also came with cheese and it was really, really good. It was one of my favorite meals when I was in Korea. So that costed me 32,000. So it was a large portion of chicken with mozzarella and then a bowl of rice, and it was really, really good. So my total cost for food for the whole 5 days, it costed me 137,900. For that price for 5 days, I think it's pretty doable considering I didn't have access to a kitchen. So I had no choice but of course to eat takeout food all the time. But at the end of it, I was still able to save because whatever leftovers I had the previous day, I was able to eat it the following day. So moving on to activities/experiences, which is the most I've spent on because of course I wanted to experience the most while I was in Korea. So I had also purchased a ticket on Klook, which included 4 attractions. I ended up choosing the Lotte World Park, and then it also had the Lotte World Aquarium. I went to the Eiffel Tower with food included, and I'm missing one more. No, right, that's correct. So at the end of it, I actually wasn't able to use one of them just because I ran out of time and I was just so exhausted, but the total cost of that was 98,103. Since I wanted to wear a hanbok, I had rented that. I had rented this really beautiful hanbok because I was going to do a photo shoot. So the hanbok costed me 60,000 won, and this was actually like the mid-range price. There's more affordable hanboks that I could have chosen, which I think the starting point was around 15,000, but I didn't really like how they look, so I went with like the mid-range. The highest costed about 100,000. So like I said, it costed 60,000 with hairstyle included, which to be honest with you, I could have just done myself, but you know, I didn't know, so I had to pay for that. But it was only like about 5,000, so it's fine. With the hanbok, I also did a private photo shoot, which was the most expensive purchase I made while I was in Korea because that had costed me 247,000, but I was really happy with how the photos turned out. So it was a 1-hour session and you get to choose a total of 13 photos for the photographer to edit, and I absolutely loved how they turned out. And then while I was in Hongdae, that is where I first encountered self-photo booths. So they are so common in Hongdae. I probably came across like about 5. During the time I went, most of them were actually very, very busy until I came across Mumu Film. So I ended up doing about 5 sessions in Hongdae because I went one day and then I went the following day because I had so much fun. And then I also came across another photo booth at the COEX Mall when I visited. So the total cost of that came to 29,000. And then when I went to Lotte World, a very common activity that they do is you dress up as a high school student. So I ended up doing that for the experience, and I rented out a uniform which costed me 25,000, which I think is not so bad because you have a button-up shirt, vest, a choice of a necktie or bow tie, a skirt, and a blazer, and you're able to rent that for the rest of the day. And of course, as long as you return it, there are no other charges. And when I was in Lotte World, I also want to purchase a headband, which only costed 9,000. There were tons of choices to choose from. So the total cost for my activities and experiences costed me 461,103. So quite a lot. It's mainly because of the photo shoot, to be honest, but I'm really happy with how the photos turned out, so no regrets on that. Now in terms of souvenir, I actually bought quite a few items just for myself and of course for my friends and family. So I ended up going to the Nike store where you were able to create your own personalized merchandise. So I ended up purchasing 2 hats with 4 patches. Each patch costed me 4,000 and the hats were, I believe, 19,000. And that total cost came to 56,000. And then I also ended up buying this box of Pokemon cards which were in Korean. So I thought that was very very unique. So I ended up purchasing that for a friend, and that costed 30,000. Now the next thing I also went to was a Daiso, which was kind of like the Miniso, and there I spent 24,200. I bought a couple items for my niece and for my family. And then I also went to Foot Locker, which I promised my uncle I would buy them a pair of slides. So I purchased one which was on sale for 39,000. So yes, that was my total cost of Souvenir, which costed me 149,200. Okay, now moving on to the final category, which were my personal wants. So since I came across Olive Young, which is a very known, I guess, drugstore, because you're able to purchase Korean makeup, of course, and skincare, so I ended up going there twice. Now my first trip to Olive Young costed me 41,100, and I also went to Daiso again to purchase just some of my personal essentials on the first night, and that costed me 12,500. Since it was also very cold, whatever I brought to Korea was not enough, so I ended up purchasing a fleece zip-up hoodie, which was on sale, and it was a really good purchase because it definitely kept me warm for the 5 days, and that costed me 19,900. And my final purchase of this video is another Olive Young trip. I wanted to purchase as much as I can since I was already in Korea as opposed to buying it here, and this only costed me 23,200. And the total cost for my personal wants ended up at 96,700. Now the grand total, combining 6 categories, it had costed me 1,128,485. So yes, that basically concludes my entire video. So thank you so much for watching and making it to the end of the video. I hope this gave you a brief overview of what the potential cost it would be if you were to travel to Korea. I hope you have a lovely day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!